Can you explain to the audience what a direct energy weapon actually is?
Yeah, I mean, we're familiar with firearms and projectiles,
right.
But effectively, that gun does one thing: fires one caliber of one bullet. Directed energy weapons systems are more multifaceted, which is great because now you can, call it something else. That's not a gun; it's a bullet carrier. It just if you don't discuss the fact that that gun can transmit, if you only discuss that the magazine can receive bullets, and you don't discuss that it can transmit them, well, it's a misconception. It's a lie. That's a gun. That's a weapon, not a bullet holder. So the directed energy weapons are, you could say acoustics. You could say laser beams. I went to an event. I spoke at an event this past summer, and I ran into a gentleman named Simeon Hine, Dr. Simeon Hine. And in his presentation, he was discussing UFOs, ball lightning, earthquakes. And the way that he presented it, I got up afterwards and I started asking him some questions because he was discussing how a lot of times when there's an earthquake, people discuss orbs, just popping up out of nowhere, energy. Right. And I inquired to him, I said, I said, science to me, my understanding, mathematics, things like that. When something's harmonious with nature, it works backwards and forwards. I said, if an earthquake can discharge energy, so wouldn't it make sense that we can apply energy to generate an earthquake? And he said, absolutely. So this is, you can think of it like Tesla technology. It can also be energy delivery, which is, again, 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla was considered a genius, and the ability to deliver energy wirelessly is legitimate. Weapons, conventional weapons, right? You launch a mortar, you're delivering energy to another location that expands rapidly and causes damage. This is simply an energy delivery system that's unconventional. And when that energy arrives and expands, does whatever it wants to do, you have an effective weapon.
And we've been, the United States, Russia, China, right? Lots of people, different people around the world are all having their weapons manufacturers testing, developing the latest and greatest weapons, and many of those are direct energy weapons. And so I'll just ask directly: would you say Raytheon has been involved in the development of direct energy weapons?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you couldn't stop me from saying that.
Well, yeah, that's. At the South Pole location, did you observe anything that would be considered a direct energy weapon?
Absolutely, I did. Okay. I also witnessed, we have a building there called Arrow, A-R-O, in Antarctica, at the South Pole Station, on the outskirts of the property. It's called Arrow, the Atmospheric Research Observatory, and it's under the pretense of checking the cleanliness of the air.
Okay.
It was one of the buildings that I regularly had to inspect. And with regularity, I could be approaching the building and I would see this green laser coming out of the building and shooting into the cosmos.
I'm not a weapons expert for technical advanced technologies, but looks like that might be a direct energy weapon.
Right? Yeah, it kind of fits the bill.
It's a laser beam shooting into space.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think it was doing?
I believe that it obviously, again, primary, so that the initial folks utilizing it. There seem to be layers of folks at the South Pole, people that operated the things for the primary purpose, and then people that were there they had primary roles, but I believe that they also had secondary roles underneath the other people's primary roles. So people mix up, and this is where the compartmentalization comes in.
Of course, yeah.
I did testify about this in Washington, D.C., which was in June of 23. My birthday was about a week or so after that event when I gave that testimony. It was, I think, the first time that I spoke publicly about the laser.
And this is a testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Yes. Okay. My birthday came shortly thereafter. The National Science Foundation has a website. They absolutely can put up any picture they want on their website, right? On my birthday, the picture that they had that you land on the page was a picture of the laser beam shooting out of the Arrow building. And I was giddy. Somebody sent me that link. I said, you've got to be kidding me. Because I still have friends in the program.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew, somebody put that there for me. Happy birthday. There's your laser coming out of Arrow photo.
So again, what do you think it? What do you think it is? I mean, when you say
primary role, I believe, does have something to do with atmospheric observations.
Okay.
But what I'm doing, trying to connect the dots, now I'm learning that there are things called chemical lasers and superfluids.
Okay.
Another thing that we had copious amounts of at the South Pole Station, I believe it was about 500,000 gallons at the time. I believe they've since lowered the supply, but it was chilled helium, chilled down to 4 degrees Kelvin for standard storage in the bulk capacity. And then they would utilize it on the focal planes of the South Pole telescope and drop it down to 1/4 of a degree. Kelvin.
What's
0 degrees Kelvin is no molecular motion anymore.
Okay, so
this is cold. This is super
like
cold.
minus hundreds of degrees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Expansion rate of 450 to 1. You get a leak. This thing's a hydrogen bomb. It's a big deal. So I believe that's something to do with the Arrow laser and the chilled helium, known as a superfluid. Superfluids are new to the science community, and it's almost like they operate out of the standard model of physics. So these are things that I'm researching and trying to connect the dots on, but certainly fit in the range of modern directed energy weapon potentials. I mean, we have decades of research for people looking into the things that my eyes are looking at, and people are telling me don't exist.
Now, I just want to be clear for those listening. I'll speak for myself, and I want to assume you agree with me. I'm assuming you will, but I won't speak for you. I don't think either one of us would disagree that the United States and Raytheon should be developing weapons to protect our nation, right? Like
Did you say shouldn't?
Should not. We should not be concerned. I mean, they should be doing that, right?
Yeah. I believe. I mean, I joined the military for a reason. I took the oath to defend the Constitution, the nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah, absolutely. So I do believe in that.
So I'm not saying Raytheon's good or bad, but that alone doesn't make them bad.
No, that alone does not make them bad. It's what they've done to get themselves outside of governmental oversight. That's where I have a problem, because now we're left to trust them, which I don't. Yeah.
So, I mean, for me as an American, I want the United States of America to have the biggest, baddest weapons on the planet, and because that's how we maintain our safety and security. But I think it is our government's responsibility to have oversight over those weapons, because now if they're outside of the oversight of the United States government, then it's whoever's the highest bidder, right? And for those things. And it could be used for nefarious reasons. So I'm in agreement with that.
And as an American, I'm sure that you would be very upset if you found out that these contractors were using the weapons that your tax dollars went towards against you.
Very much so.